Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Sunday, February 1st, 2026.
Hey there.
We are looking at a concept that it feels like it's absolutely everywhere right now.
Oh, totally.
You hear it constantly. You hear it in political stump speeches. You see it in beer commercials. You see it in, all these think pieces about the economy.
Right.
And later this month, it is literally going to be the title of a primetime television show. We are talking about the average American.
It's a phrase that does so much heavy lifting in our culture, doesn't it? I mean, we use it to describe a voting bloc, a consumer demographic, or sometimes just a specific vibe or aesthetic.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But the mission for this deep dive is to figure out what it actually means to be average in 2026. Because as we dug into this stack of research, it turns out average is a much, much slipperier concept than you might think.
It's a moving target. It really is.
It's kind of a statistical illusion in some ways.
Exactly. And the catalyst for us digging into this specific stack of research today, the thing that kicked this whole conversation off, is the upcoming premiere of a new game show on ABC and Hulu.
Right.
It's called The Greatest Average American, hosted by the comedian Nate Bargatze. It drops later this month on February 25th.
And on the surface, looking at the press release, it looks like just another game show, just another piece of content.
Yeah, another Wednesday night thing to watch.
But if you peel back the layers, which is exactly what we are here to do, it actually opens up a really fascinating conversation. We are just reviewing a TV show today.
Not at all.
We are talking about statistics and how they can mislead us. We are talking about the history of reality television and how it has changed, dramatically over the last 20 years. We're talking sociology. And maybe most surprisingly, we are talking about the massive business of comedy.
We have a really interesting stack of sources today. We've got casting calls, which are always fun to analyze.
Oh, those are the best. They're like the secret diary of Hollywood.
They really are. We've got articles on statistical literacy from SaaS blogs, which, trust me, is way more exciting than it sounds.
I was actually super into that one. It's fascinating.
We've got a deep dive into the sociology of reality TV from Columbia Magazine and some industry reports on the absolute explosion of game shows that's happening this year.
So the mission is to figure out why we are so obsessed with this idea of averageness. We're going to look at the math because the word average is actually like a statistical trap.
It's a trap. It's designed to fool you.
Totally. And we're going to look at how our portrayal of regular people on TV has shifted from, mocking them in the early 2000s to celebrating them in 2026.
And we're going to look at the business empire currently being built in Nashville that banks entirely on being normal.
Right.
So buckle up.
Let's dive in.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the show itself, The Greatest Average American, because the premise is honestly kind of brilliant in its simplicity.
It really is.
It premieres Wednesday, Feb 25, 2026. It's executive produced by Nate Bargatze and John Quinn. And the format is, well, it's distinct.
It is very different from the current landscape. Think about the game shows we usually watch. If you turn on Jeopardy!
Right.
You are watching to see if someone knows facts that you don't know. You're watching Ken Jennings or whoever.
You're watching to feel impressed, or in my case, to feel dumb.
Exactly. Or if you watch American Ninja Warrior, you are watching someone do physical feats that you definitely cannot do.
Not even close.
Those shows are all about exceptionalism. They're about celebrating the top 1% of knowledge or physical ability.
Right. Look at this person who's better than me. It's aspirational, I guess.
Exactly. But The Greatest Average American just completely flips that script. This show is about empathy, or perhaps it's more about projection.
Projection. Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, you have 3 contestants competing to answer trivia and challenges, but the answers aren't based on objective truth. They're not based on encyclopedic knowledge.
So it's not what's the periodic symbol for gold.
No. The answers are based on predicting the average response of everyday Americans to a survey question.
So it's like, the question isn't, what is the capital of France? The question is, what does the guy sitting next to you on the bus think is the capital of France?
Precisely. Or maybe what percentage of Americans would say Paris? You have to get inside the collective mind.
Like a human version of Family Feud, but without the feuding families?
A little bit, yeah. You have to step outside your own head. You have to understand the consensus. You have to quantify the vibe of the country.
That's so interesting. So being a contrarian, being a unique thinker, that's actually a disadvantage on this show.
A huge disadvantage. The goal is to be perfectly in tune with the mainstream. And what I found most fascinating in the show notes is the prize money.
Oh, yeah, the prize.
Usually, game shows have these nice, round, aspirational numbers. You know, $10,000,
Yeah.
100,000, a million.
The classic, who wants to be a millionaire? That's the dream,
Wow.
right?
Right. But the grand prize for this show is incredibly specific. It is $67,920.
That is such a weird number for a check. Imagine writing that on one of those giant cardboard checks. There's no room.
It feels like an accounting error, but it is specific for a reason. That figure, plus a little extra they throw in to cover taxes, which is nice of them.
Very considerate.
It represents the average American salary, as defined by the show's producers.
That is hilarious. It's so on the nose. So the goal isn't to be a millionaire. The goal is to win the financial equivalent of a year of, what, mediocrity?
Well, mediocrity or, stability, depending on how you look at it. But there is a real humor in that, isn't there? The show celebrates the power of being perfectly average.
It's reframing it.
It's framing averageness not as a lack of skill, but as a point of connection. It's saying, if you are perfectly average, if you understand the average person, you are actually a winner.
I was looking at the casting call for this show, which went out back in October of 2025. This really gives you a sense of who the producers think the average American actually is.
Casting notices are always so revealing.
Yeah.
They're like the subconscious of the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So what were they looking for?
Okay, so they were specifically hunting for bold, energetic, and opinionated personalities.
Okay, bold and opinionated. That's interesting.
I thought so too, because usually average implies blending in, being quiet, but they want bold, average people. They want people who are confidently normal.
So not wallflower, someone who will perform their averageness for the camera.
Exactly. But geographically, they were laser focused. This is the key part. They wanted people specifically from the Midwest and central U.S.
Oh, wow.
Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, Missouri. That was the target zone.
That is so telling. I mean, it suggests that in the minds of television producers, the average American doesn't live in New York or Los Angeles.
Nope.
They don't live in Miami or Seattle. They live in the heartland.
100%. And they filmed it in Nashville back in November 2025, which also fits that kind of central, not the coast vibe.
So they're building this identity of the average Joe as this very specific demographic. It's an intentional branding of what American is supposed to look like.
Right. But, and here's where it gets really, really interesting. The math behind that prize money, that $67,920 figure, is actually super controversial if you know anything about statistics.
This is where we need to put our nerd glasses on for a second.
Get ready.
We have a great source from SAS blogs that breaks down how statistics in the media can be incredibly misleading. And the word average is the biggest culprit of them all.
Because average can mean two very, very different things, right?
Sure.
And the show is banking on us not knowing the difference.
Absolutely. In common parlance, when we say average, we are usually talking about the mean.
Okay, so remind us of the difference. I feel like I learned this in 7th grade, and then I immediately flushed it from my brain to make room for song lyrics.
You're not alone. Most of us did. So the mean is what you get when you add up everyone's income, or whatever you're measuring, and divide it by the number of people. It's the simple arithmetic average.
Got it.
Let's do a thought experiment.
Ah.
Imagine you and 4 friends are in a bar. You check your wallets. You have $20. Your friends each have $20. The average, the mean cash in that group is $20.
Simple enough. We are all equally broke. A very realistic scenario.
But then a billionaire, let's say Elon Musk or someone, walks into the bar.
Okay, suddenly the vibe changes. He's
Yep.
probably not ordering a PBR.
And the math changes drastically. If you calculate the mean, now adding up all the money in the room, including his, $50 billion and dividing by 6 people, suddenly the average person in that bar is a multi-billionaire on paper.
But in reality, me and my friends still only have $20. We can't even afford another round.
Exactly. The mean has skyrocketed into the stratosphere, but your reality hasn't changed one bit. The average is now completely unrepresentative of the typical person in the room.
Yeah.
That is why statisticians often prefer another measurement. The median.
The median.
The median is if you lined everyone up from poorest to richest and picked the person standing in the exact middle.
So in the bar example, if we line up, it would be friend 1, friend 2, me, friend 3, friend 4. And then way, way, way at the end is the billionaire.
Right. And the person in the middle is still one of your friends holding a $20 bill.
The median is still $20.
Exactly. The median is resistant to outliers. The mean is easily skewed. The median tells you what the typical experience is. The mean can be wildly misleading.
So applying this to the game show, that $67,920 prize.
That is almost certainly a mean average. There's
Yeah.
no way it's a median.
Why not?
Because income data in the United States is incredibly skewed. Just like the billionaire in the bar, you have a small number of people making astronomical amounts of money, CEOs, tech moguls, athletes, and they pull the mean salary figure way, way up.
They warp the curve.
They completely warp the curve. The source highlighted some data from 2014 to illustrate this, and the gap is just wild.
Okay.
Back then, the mean income was about $50,000.
50K. Okay.
But the median, the amount the actual person in the dead center of the country was making, was only $33,000.
Wait. Say that again. 50,000 versus 33,000.
Yep, a $17,000 difference. Think about that. That is a massive gap.
Hmm.
The so-called average was 50, but the typical experience was 33.
So if we extrapolate that to 2026 and this game show,
Yeah.
if you are the actual median American, the truly typical person, and you're looking at that game show prize of 67 grand,
It's not an average year for you.
no, that is a massive raise. That's life-changing money.
It's likely double what the actual typical person makes. So the show's calling it the average salary, but for most of the viewers at home, that is aspirational money.
It creates an illusion of prosperity. It makes the average American look wealthier than they statistically are. It's a bit of marketing genius, actually.
It's brilliant because it sounds plausible, it sounds relatable, but it's actually a much bigger number than what most people experience.
It's fascinating how a simple word choice, average, can completely frame our perception of the economy without actually lying.
Numbers don't lie,
Uh,
but they can be very misleading.
Yeah.
That's the core of it. And this isn't just about game shows or salaries. This misunderstanding of mean versus median affects real life and death decisions.
like what else does this apply to?
Life expectancy. This one blew my mind when I read the source. If you look at the stats, the average age of death in the U.S. is often cited as somewhere around 79. That's the mean.
Okay, 79, that feels about right.
But the median age of death for adults is about 83.
Wait, so half of adults who make it past, say, their 20s live to be 83 or older?
Exactly. The mean is dragged down by tragic early deaths, infant mortality, car accidents in your teens, the opioid crisis. Those low numbers pull the arithmetic average down significantly.
Oh, wow.
But if you survive childhood and those risky early adult years, your likely lifespan is significantly longer than the average that gets reported.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means if you plan your retirement funds to last until you're 79, because that's the average,
You're in big trouble.
you might run out of money 4 years early because you didn't look at the median.
Precisely. You could be broke at 80 because you relied on the mean. The median is usually the better metric for understanding a typical experience, but the mean is the one that gets the headlines because it's often a simpler calculation or, frankly, it just fits a certain narrative better.
There was another statistical trap mentioned in the SAS source that I think is really relevant, especially since we see approval ratings and polls all the time in the news.
Oh, this is a classic.
The difference between percent change and percentage points.
Yes. This is the politician's favorite trick. Let's say a politician has a 50% approval rating. They are riding high, everyone's happy. Then a scandal happens, and they drop to 30%.
Okay, so they lost 20%.
No, see, that's the trap. That's what their opponent will say. They lost 20 percentage points. That's the literal subtraction.
Okay, points.
But if you look at the actual drop relative to where they started, losing 20 from a starting point of 50 is actually a 40% drop in their total approval.
Oh, wow, yeah. Saying approval dropped 40% sounds way more catastrophic.
It's a disaster, whereas saying it dropped 20 points
Yeah.
sounds manageable,
And their press secretary will definitely say 20 points.
100%. And conversely, if they go from 30% back up to 50%, their campaign might say approval soared 66% instead of it went up 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
You can manipulate the emotion of the headline just by choosing which metric to use.
The source used a great, simple example about gardening, of all things, the tomato yield.
All right. It's a good way to visualize it. If your garden goes from producing 10 tomatoes one year to 25 tomatoes the next year,
Okay, a good year for tomato.
a very good year, you produced 15 more tomatoes. That's a 150% increase over your original 10.
Right, 1.5 times more.
Correct.
Yeah.
But people will sometimes confuse that and say, I have 150% of the yield. No, you have 250% of last year's yield. The increase was 150%.
My brain hurts a little bit. But it's so important because a show like The Greatest Average American is pitching us a statistical reality. It's saying this is what the average person earns, this is what the average person thinks, and that reality might not actually be real.
It is absolutely a constructed reality. Which is a perfect segue, actually, because this isn't the first time TV has tried to build a show around the average Joe.
No, it is not.
But the last time they did it, the tone was completely different.
Oh, man. We have to talk about 2003. Some of our listeners might be too young to remember this, but there was an NBC show literally called Average Joe.
And if you want to see how much culture has shifted in 23 years, just compare the premise of Nate Bargatze's show to this one. The Greatest Average American in 2026 celebrates the average person.
Right, it's the goal.
Average Joe in 2003 was basically a cruel prank played on everyone involved.
It really was. So let me set the scene for you. 2003 reality TV was the Wild West. It was just, there were no rules.
It was the era of the Swan and Fear factor, just peak chaos.
So here was the setup for Average Joe. You take a beauty queen, someone like a former Miss USA contestant, and you tell her she's going to star in a dating show like The Bachelor.
Okay, so she's expecting a house full of chiseled hunks.
Exactly. She's expecting guys who look like they belong on a calendar. But instead, the producers went out and specifically cast men they considered average. And the Wikipedia entry for this is brutal.
Oh, no.
It says they looked for men who were overweight, underweight, nerdy, or awkward. They were casting for a type, and that type was not hot.
That is just savage.
The look on the women's faces when these guys would step out of the limo, it was pure 2000s reality TV cruelty. The camera would zoom in on their disappointment.
So the whole first act of the show is just her being horrified.
Pretty much. But the hook was, halfway through the season, they would bring in a twist. A busload of actual male models would arrive to compete against the average guys.
No, that's just pouring salt in the wound.
It was brutal. The stated moral of the show, the thing the network marketed, was personality triumphs over looks. They wanted to prove that once the beauty queen got to know the nerdy guys, she wouldn't care about the models with the six-packs.
That was the pitch? A heartwarming story about inner beauty.
That was the pitch, but that's not what happened, was it?
Almost never. In season 1, you had a bachelorette named Milana Scanlon. She had a great connection with a guy named Adam Mesh. He was the fan favorite, the quintessential nice average guy. He was funny. He traded stocks. He was charming.
He was the guy you were rooting for.
Everyone was rooting for him. But in the end, when it came down to Adam and one of the handsome late arrivals, Jason Peoples,
Yeah.
she picked the hunk.
Oof. It was devastating for the audience. I remember people being so mad about it.
And then season 2, Average Joe, Hawaii. This one was even messier.
How could it get messier?
The bachelorette was Larissa Meek. Again, she has her average contender, a guy named Brian Worth, and her handsome suitor, Gil Hyatt. She picks Gil. She picks a model.
Of course she does.
But here's the juicy detail from the source.
Huh?
On their televised honeymoon, Larissa admits to Gil that she had previously dated Fabio.
Wait. The Fabio. Like, romance novel cover guy. I can't believe it's not Butter Fabio.
The one and only. The guy with the long hair and the wind machine always following him around.
No way.
And apparently, Gil was so disgusted or intimidated by this, by the idea that he was following the footsteps of Fabio, that he left her. They broke up immediately. On the honeymoon.
So the hot guy turned out to be incredibly shallow and insecure, proving the show's premise right, even though the girl picked him anyway.
It was a complete disaster. But the interesting thing is what happened to the average guys who got rejected.
Right, like Adam Mesh.
Adam Mesh, the guy who got dumped in season 1. He became a folk hero. The audience loved him. NBC actually gave him his own spin-off, Average Joe. Adam Returns, where a bunch of women competed for him.
So we started to see a shift. The audience didn't want to laugh at the average guy anymore. They wanted the average guy to win.
Exactly. The underdog story became the main draw. And eventually in season 4, which was called The Joe's Strike Back, an average guy named Nathan Griffin finally won. He beat the models. But it took 4 seasons to get there.
It's just fascinating to contrast that whole arc with Nate Bargatze's show. In 2003, average was an obstacle to be overcome. You had to overcome your averageness to win the girl.
It was a flaw.
In 2026, average is the goal. It's literally the winning condition.
That reflects a massive sociological shift in how we think about status and identity.
Yeah.
And to understand that, we Really need to look at why we watch these shows in the first place.
Okay, so let's get into the sociology of it all.
We have a great article from Columbia Magazine featuring Danielle J. Lindemann, a sociology professor who wrote a book on this exact topic.
She calls reality TV a fun house mirror. I love that.
It's a perfect analogy, right?
Right.
She argues that reality TV takes society's traits and just amplifies them. It takes things like sexism, racism, and classism and dials them up to 11 for dramatic effect.
But it's not just the bad stuff.
No, she says it also reflects our creativity, our humor, our resilience. It shows us who we are, just in a distorted, exaggerated way.
One of the things she touches on is the voyeurism of it all. She has this train wreck theory, like why did we watch Here Comes Honey Boo Boo? Why did we watch Jersey Shore?
I've often wondered that about my own viewing habits.
Me too.
Lindemann suggests it's about feeling superior. We watch these shows to say, I may be messed up, but at least I'm not that train wreck. It's a way of stabilizing our own identity by contrasting it with someone else's chaos.
So watching Honey Boo Boo was a way for viewers to feel secure in their own normalcy, because the show was portraying this marginalized group as essentially buffoons.
That's the argument. It's a form of social comparison that makes the viewer feel better about their own life choices. It can be kind of a dark impulse.
But it's not just passive watching. These shows actually change behavior in the real world. This statistic from the article blew me away. Viewership of the MTV show 16 and Pregnant was linked to a tangible reduction in teen pregnancy rates.
It's the scared straight effect, right? I wasn't glamorizing it.
Not at all.
Seeing the unvarnished difficulty of raising a child at 16, financial strain, the social isolation, the arguments, it made teenagers more cautious. It showed the struggle without the usual TV gloss.
But there's a flip side to this influence, a much more powerful and maybe more controversial example. Lindemann brings up the connection between The Apprentice and Donald Trump's presidency.
This is really crucial to understanding the power of this medium. It's not just fluff.
No, the argument is that for more than a decade, The Apprentice portrayed him as this decisive, competent leader in a suit barking, "You're fired," from a boardroom.
It edited out the indecision or the errors. It presented a carefully constructed character of the ultimate boss.
And that image, that brand, it's stuck.
Lindemann argues it paved the way for his political career because millions of Americans spent years watching him play a powerful CEO. Reality TV constructs authority. It teaches us who to respect, who to see as a leader.
And now, in 2026, we have a show constructing the authority of the average American. If The Apprentice made us value the boss, does the greatest average American make us value the crowd?
That's a profound question. The format of Bargatze's show literally asks contestants to guess what the crowd thinks. It validates the consensus.
It rewards conformity.
It does. And in a really polarized world, maybe we are craving that confirmation that there is a norm, that there is a middle we can all agree on, even if it's just about what our favorite pizza topping is.
It's almost like we are trying to heal the divide by gamifying the middle ground.
Or maybe we're just trying to find a safe space where we don't have to argue for an hour. Which, brings us to the man behind this whole operation.
Yes, Nate Bargatze. We have to talk about him because this show doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of a much bigger picture. He is currently the #1 earning comedian in the world.
He is having a massive moment. It's kind of incredible to watch.
Moment is an understatement. According to Pollstar, as of late 2025, he is the top earner globally in comedy.
Yeah.
He sold 1.2 million tickets in 2024 alone.
That's arena numbers. That's rock star numbers.
It is. And he hosted the 77th Primetime Emmys on CBS, which got the highest ratings in 4 years. He's becoming a mainstream cultural fixture.
And we have to consider why he is so successful. His brand is very, very specific. It's clean comedy.
Right. He doesn't do politics. He doesn't do raunchy stuff. His whole act is...
quiet.
It's observational. He talks about being confused by modern life, being a little slow, being a regular dad, trying to figure out 6th grade math homework.
His most famous bit is about his wife wanting a dead horse in their yard. It's absurd, but also completely G-rated.
He creates this persona that is intensely relatable and non-threatening. He never punches down. He barely even swears.
He's the anti-celebrity celebrity. He's the guy you think you could have a beer with, or maybe an iced tea with, more likely.
And he's leveraging that persona into a massive business empire called Nateland. It's not just about telling jokes anymore.
No, it's a brand.
It's fascinating to watch a comedian pivot to becoming a lifestyle brand. We have a press release from Storyland Studios. These are the guys who design theme parks for Disney and Universal, announcing a partnership with Bargatze.
To do what?
To build a Nateland theme park in Nashville.
A stand-up comedian building a theme park.
Mm.
That feels that feels unprecedented, doesn't it? It's wildly ambitious.
Mm.
I mean, Dolly Parton did it with Dollywood, but she was a global music icon first. For a stand-up comedian, it's a huge swing.
So where are they with that?
They announced it in November 2025.
Mm.
They are currently, right now as we speak, in February 2026, wrapping up the feasibility study.
Mm-hmm.
The results of that are due by the end of this quarter.
Wow. So what does a Nate Bargatze theme park even look like? What are the rides?
Well, the plans call for over 100 acres. Retail, dining, hotels, the whole resort experience.
Mm-hmm.
But the core concept, the brand identity, is good, clean family fun.
Of course it is.
It fits perfectly with the demographic we talked about earlier, that Midwest Central U.S. casting call for his show. He's building a destination for the average American family who might feel alienated by Disney's prices or what they see as coastal culture.
It's smart synergy. You have the game show The Greatest Average American on ABC. You have the clean comedy tours filling arenas. And eventually you have the physical destination in Nashville where your fans can come and live inside the brand.
He's creating an ecosystem.
He really is.
He's capturing the middle. And in business, as in statistics, the middle is a very big, very lucrative place to be. If you can own the average American, you own the biggest market share.
But Nate isn't the only one riding this wave. 2026 seems to be the year of the game show. We look at the upcoming slate from DirecTV and Storyland, and it is absolutely packed.
It is the year of the reboot. We are just drowning in nostalgia right now.
Okay, let's list some of these, because the sheer volume is kind of staggering. We've got Hollywood Squares back on CBS.
Right, with Drew Barrymore in the center square
Yeah.
and Nate Burleson from the NFL hosting. That premiered just last month in January 2025 and did really well.
We've got Star Search back on Netflix, of all places, hosted by Anthony Anderson. That premiered on January 13th of this year.
An iconic brand. And on the Game Show Network, you've got revivals of Tic-Tac-Doe and Bingo Blitz.
Yeah.
Just pure, classic, old-school formats.
And then you have all these new niche competitions. Trainer games on Prime Video for fitness stars, baking championship, Next Gen for siblings who bake.
There was one called Extracted on Fox that sounded intense. It's a survival show, but your family members at home are the ones who decide whether to pull you out of the competition.
Oh, that's diabolical. That's some 2003 level cruelty right there.
A little bit.
So why this explosion? Now, why is 2026 the year we all just want to watch people play games? Is it just cheap to produce?
That's part of it, for sure. They're cheaper than scripted dramas, but I think it connects back to the average American theme we've been talking about. If you look at the format of these new shows, especially The Greatest Average American or Star Search, with its at-home voting component, there's a real shift toward interactive participation.
You want to be part of the show. We want to play along. We want to judge.
And we want comfort. The world is incredibly complex. Statistics are misleading, as we just learned. Politics is intense. A game show has rules.
Yes.
It has a clear winner and a clear loser. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, all wrapped up in a neat 30 or 60-minute package. And in the case of Bargatze's show, the winner is the person who understands us the best.
It's comforting to think that us is a knowable thing, that there's a right answer to what do Americans think, that you can actually win at being an American.
Exactly. Even if, as we discussed with the math, the average is a statistical construct that doesn't really exist in the wild. The show makes it feel real.
So let's bring this full circle. This has been a winding road. We started with a TV show, went through the math of the median versus the mean, revisited the cruel reality TV of 2003, and ended up in a planned theme park in Nashville.
It's a lot to take in. It's a journey from the screen to the calculator to the sociology textbook and back again.
If you had to synthesize all of this, what is the single biggest takeaway for the listener?
I think the takeaway is that average is one of the most complicated and loaded words in our language.
Right.
It's a statistical trap. Remember to always ask if you're hearing the mean or the median.
Right.
It's a reality TV trope that has evolved from mockery to celebration over 2 decades. And right now, in this moment, it is a massive multi-platform branding strategy for one of the world's biggest entertainers.
And there is a fundamental paradox here that we have to point out.
A huge paradox. To be crowned the greatest average American, you have to beat out thousands of other people in a casting process, then beat contestants on national television to win a prize that is likely double the actual median income.
So in 2026, being average is actually an exceptional achievement. It's an elite status.
That's the ultimate irony, isn't it? We're celebrating the ordinary, but we're turning it into a spectacle. We are making the average elite.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you, our listener, with a challenge, a little homework. This week, when you see a statistic in the news, an average home price, an average voter's opinion, an average test score, ask yourself, is this the mean or is this the median?
And ask yourself, who is being left out of this number? Whose experience is being erased? Because the billionaire in the room changes the average, but he doesn't change the reality for everyone else.
Great advice. Be a statistical detective. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay curious.